Everybody, and welcome to Free. I'm Ryan, and I'm the pastor and executive director here at Free, and it's good to be with you on another Saturday night here in Denver. And welcome to all of our online people who are joining us on Facebook or YouTube. We're glad you're here, glad you're part of this community. I should remind you all that we are a community for addicts, loved ones of addicts, and spiritual refugees. And our mission here is to break the silence of addiction and create space for healing, recovery, and spiritual connection. And like we do every Saturday night, by the way, I didn't say, this is Noelle Holskin, our community director here, that's going to give us some good words in just a moment.
That's true.
But can we do a few good words before the good words?
I would love that.
Because there is one thing we do not do here at Free Spiritual Community, and I want you all to shout it out, all four words, as loud as you can, so the online people can hear you. And online people, you can even say it in the comments on YouTube or Facebook, but here it goes. 1, 2, 3.
We don't do shame.
That was pretty good. We don't do shame.
Pretty good.
So we're not going to shame them for it's been better sometimes.
Well, you can't be 100% every weekend.
They're working on it. They're working on it.
We'll pray for y'all next week.
All right, so we do have some good things coming up. Noelle, tell us some good things coming up here at Free.
I would love to. For those of y'all, it's your first night here. We're so glad you're here with us tonight. Welcome. There are welcome bags right outside this door here. Has a little bit about what we do at Free Spiritual Community, a little bit about Wagon Coffee. There's some fresh roasted Wagon Coffee in there, so you're going to want to grab some of that. And just some free swag in there, a bracelet. And we just want you to know that we're really glad you're here and we want to welcome you into our community. So thank you for being with us tonight. So if it's your first time here, please grab one of those on your way out. Next up, for all y'all who stopped in the cafe this evening, there's a ton of new free merchandise.
Yes.
I think we have a picture. Yep. So please grab some of that. 100% of your proceeds for free merchandise goes back to our mission here at Free of breaking the silence of addiction. So it's a great Christmas present and just some great stuff over there. Next weekend, so it'll be the 17th, it's a Saturday, right before service, starting at 5:30, we're teaming up with Sober Hangs, which is like a sober hangout mission, and we will be doing Christmas ornament decorating in the cafe. So bring your kiddos, or you yourself can decorate an ornament, but we'll have stations set up where we can decorate ornaments. You don't need to bring anything, just yourselves, but it'll be a pre-service party starting at 5:30 next Saturday.
It's going to be all kinds of fun.
It's going to be all kinds of fun.
All right. Advent.
Oh, yes. And so this coming Thursday is our third Thursday in a 4-week series that we will be doing an Advent small group on Thursday nights. This group meets in the cafe right next door from 6:30 to 7:30. Rev Ryan and then our home team lead, Carrie, is leading that for us on Thursday nights. But this is the third week. So if you haven't yet joined us, please do so. There's still time. And then there's an intentional exercise that you guys do every week.
And they're kind of cool evenings. We just gather around the living room. There's been about 15 of us.
I've heard such good things about this small group.
You know, it's centering time together, which we need during the holidays, right? So if you haven't been yet, you're welcome to join us this Thursday at 6:30.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there's one more week after this week.
We'll do 2 more weeks. Yep.
Okay, great.
Awesome. So I want to invite Brooke Donahue up here. Brooke is leading. Come on up, Brooke. We'll pass you this microphone. Brooke leads a support group for friends and family who have loved ones who are battling addiction, and she's doing all sorts of great work here, but I want her to tell us what happens and invite people in.
Hey, I'm Brooke.
Oh, you might need to stand down here, Brooke, because I don't know about our cameras.
Okay. Excuse me while I refer to my phone. It is an extension of my brain. I'm the facilitator of our family support group that we hold here at Free on Thursday nights. It's no secret that all of us are here because we love somebody who struggles, or you yourself struggles. And watching somebody get sober or attempt to get sober is a very difficult thing. Getting sober is one of the hardest things that a person can do. If you've ever watched somebody that you love attempt to find sobriety, and if you've ever felt the fear and the anger and the resentment and the powerlessness that comes along with that, then I'd like for you to join me on Thursday nights, and along with others who have experienced the same thing. We learn how to find serenity, happiness, and compassion while the person that we love works on finding their sobriety. This group is called CRAFT. It stands for Community Reinforcement and Family Training. We offer understanding support, ways to cope with the struggles that we face. It's about learning a different method to communicate with and support our loved ones. It's about taking care of ourselves while also learning how to interact with our loved ones in a way that increases the likelihood of really making a change. The old method of either help them or help yourself by distancing yourself from them should never be a decision that we have to make. So if anything I've said tonight resonates with you, and if you understand what I'm talking about, I would like for you to meet me here next Thursday and every Thursday after that at 6 p.m. We will find a place for just ask whoever's standing around where we are, because we kind of bounce around.
Yeah, because I screwed things up a little bit.
You did, but that's okay. In any case, that's what I do here. I will be hanging out after the service so that if anybody has any questions or wants to know a little bit more about class or the group that I offer, I'd be more than happy to talk with you about that. We also have Zooms, so if you can't make it here, at the very least, I'd love to invite you to one of the Zooms. Thank you.
Thank you, Brooke. And let me just say, Brooke has been through this. She's, you might remember, she was one of our guest storytellers a couple of months ago now, and just shared so much valuable information. So thank you for leading this group. And like she said, if it resonates with you, come. It's free.
It is. It's free. Yeah.
All right.
Everybody.
Thank you so much, Brooke.
Thanks.
It's good to have you here. Okay, so I want to let you all know a couple more things that are coming up. First, in 2 weeks from tonight, it is Christmas Eve, which falls on a Saturday this year. So yes, we are having a Christmas Eve service this year. I'm excited about it. Do we have a video? Chris, can you play the video? I was at one time a drunk pastor, and now this is my 9th sober Christmas. Join us December 24th at Denver's largest recovery community here at Free for our Christmas Eve service, 7 p.m. So you are invited to spend Christmas Eve here with us. Bring friends, bring your family. Everyone's welcome here. We have a bunch of candles.
It's gonna be a
We're
good
gonna
night.
get it's gonna be fun because we're gonna be a little traditional and raise a candle. And why do we do that, by the way? Because the theme of Christmas Eve is light breaking into the darkness. So Mickey, where's Mickey's in the front row here? He's gonna be singing Silent Night. We're all gonna sing it together. Words will be on the screen if you don't know the words of Silent Night. So I hope you all come. It's going to be a good, beautiful evening together. That's in 2 weeks from tonight. That's Christmas Eve. Hope to see you there. And you all know that 2 weeks out of the year, we take very intentional rest weeks. It's where we shut the place down. Staff, volunteers, everyone gets a rest week. So the week after Christmas Eve, we will not be having a service that night. I'll put that in an email. I'll put it on social. But don't come here Saturday after Christmas Eve because we won't have a service. We do one of those the week after Christmas, and then 1 week we do in the summer. But that'll be a rest week. So if you come, well, you're going to be hanging out alone.
That's true. We do that twice a year. But following Rest Week, which is the last day of the year in 2020, so kicking off in January, we have some big things coming down the pipeline. We're going to be kicking off a book study on The Gifts of Imperfection by Brene Brown. It's going to be great. I'm going to be co-leading this book study with Abby Alt, who's on our home team. It's going to be a good time. So there's 5 Tuesdays in January. So we will meet for 5 weeks in this room, in the big room, from 6 to 7. And then we're also going to be doing a 4-week series on the gifts of imperfection. So
all throughout January.
Similar to the Power of Now this summer, our series will coincide with our book study. So y'all can kind of follow along with us.
Raise your hand if you've read Gifts of Imperfection.
Oh, there's some gifts.
Oh, just a few of you. I highly encourage it. Highly recommend
I expect all of you to be there then.
Yes. You just called yourself out. Okay, thank you, Noelle.
You're so
I know it was a
welcome.
lot, but important stuff, so thank you for that. So we are in the 3rd week of Advent. Paige and Max and Ellie, do you want to join me up here? So we are, if you don't know what Advent is, the real simple way to explain it is it's the 4 weeks leading up to Christmas. It's the 4 weeks we prepare for a new season, for hope, joy, peace, and love to burst through the world, which is what Christmas is about, light breaking into the darkness. So you guys get to light. So we started with hope, peace, and tonight we're going to light those two and add in a little bit of joy, which is the pink candle. Max. And we have a little prayer. Do we have the prayer on the screen? There we go. Paige will read while you light. Oh, you need the mic. I was wondering why you were just staring at me. There you go, Paige. Let me turn it on for you. There you go.
This evening we light 3 candles, the candles of hope, peace, and tonight the candle of joy. This candle reminds us that we have reason to be joyful, even in the midst of strife. We remember that the angel proclaimed Christ's birth as good news of great joy to all people. We enter into the story of rebirth again this year, and we celebrate tonight with joyful hearts and commit ourselves to spreading that joy to the world around us.
Thank you, Paige and Max and Ellie. And how old is Ellie now?
4 months.
4 months old. I'm glad you're here, Ellie. Yeah, she's doing it. Thank you all for being here. Thank you. Love y'all. All right, y'all, the way we get started here at Free is we start by celebrating, remembering the good. We start with gratitude, so we lift up the good. We believe that God joins with us in these celebrations when we do it together as a community. So Matt will pass around the mic. Matt might want to just make sure that mic is on. If you have something good you want to lift up, maybe it's a sobriety anniversary or a new job, a new baby, whatever the new thing in life is, we want to celebrate that together. If you're online, simply drop it in the YouTube comments or the Facebook comments. We want to celebrate there with you too. And we'll take 3 minutes to celebrate. Then just raise your hand up and Matt will give you a mic.
Sean, alcoholic, celebrating 11 months today.
All right, Sean.
Hi, I'm Caddison. I just wanted to share how my volleyball team recently won our championship game, and we recently got our award for it.
Congratulations. Big stuff.
My name is Patrick, and I'm 8 days clean off fentanyl.
All right, Patrick. Yeah. Glad you're here, man. Congratulations. Keep on going.
My name's Katie, and I'm celebrating 1 year sober today.
Katie! Katie from our home team, 1 year sober.
All right, here we go.
Congratulations, Katie.
My name is Chris, and I'm celebrating the longest I've been sober since I was 14 years old.
All right, dude. Congratulations.
7.5 months.
7.5 months.
Hi, I'm Abby, and I just wanted to celebrate Chase. He recently got a promotion and is getting transferred and really expanding his career. So congratulations, Chase.
Way to go, Chase.
Hi, I'm Brooke. I want to celebrate the fact that my son survived an overdose a week ago.
Ah, Brooke. We will celebrate that with you.
Still got a minute.
Second row here, Matt, after this one.
don't know if I have anything to celebrate outside of the fact that I'm here tonight with my wife, and I was here last Saturday with my buddy Mike that encouraged me to come here. And it's a wonderful situation. I appreciate everybody. This is great. Thank you very much.
Glad you're here. Welcome.
You got one down?
My name's David. I'm celebrating life. I was brought back to life twice 2 weeks ago, and here I am, alive.
Congratulations being brought back.
And I'll finish with my beloved Ferris State Bulldogs have just made the national championship next week's Saturday. Unfortunately, they're playing the Colorado School of Mines. The School of Mimes, we call it. So
we'll celebrate that with you, Matt.
Next Saturday.
All right. Yeah, we can clap for Matt so he doesn't feel left out on that. There you go.
Love you, Matt.
So, Bricks, what, can I take your hood off? Okay, let's take your hood off so people can see those beautiful eyes. He wanted to do celebrations tonight, be on the stage, and now he's being shy, but he's going to work on it. Tammy Canada's up here, ladies and gentlemen, and she's going to join us for celebrations.
Hi, guys. We have your mother and Joe in the house, too.
Yes.
Yay.
Welcome, Mom and Joe, all the way down from Florida. It's good to have them there. We went and had breakfast with Santa this morning at the aquarium.
Nice and early. You want to say hi?
Maybe later. All right, Mama's going to read this, okay?
Gina. Hi, Gina. She says, my husband is sober over 30 days.
Way to go, Gina. Gina's husband. All right, Trip and Sharon.
Hi, guys.
I would like to celebrate my mother-in-law having a successful surgery on Monday, which we surprised her by flying out to be there and stayed till yesterday morning. I also want to celebrate my mom and nephew being here and spending the weekend with us. Celebrating that with you, Sharon. Thank you for being part of this community and sharing that with us.
Hey, Ricky says, celebrating my daughter graduating college yesterday.
All right, Ricky.
I have a daughter in college. Awesome. Love it, Ricky.
Stephanie says, celebrating the blessings in my life, spilling over to others. Also, I was gifted a filet mignon for my Christmas dinner. It's in the freezer, and I'm so grateful. Stephanie, throw it on the grill, girl. Celebrating that with you.
The simple pleasure stuff. And Deborah, hi, my friend. She says, celebrating my son's new job. That's a big deal.
All right. Congratulations. Jeff says, my beautiful girlfriend, Carrie, just picked up her 2-year sober-versary coin last Tuesday.
Awesome,
Congratulations, Carrie. Thank you for sharing that with us, Jeff.
And Christy says, thankful Jen's brother continues to heal from surgery to his leg. Yeah.
Yeah,
awesome,
we'll celebrate
Christy.
that. Thank you for sharing that with us, Christy. Francis, man, we miss you, brother. Glad you're tuning in tonight. My sister married 36 years today. Congratulations to your sister. Happy anniversary. Good to hear from you, brother. Bricks, thank you for joining us up here. You're welcome anytime. Yeah, all right. Thank you, Tammy. Yeah, you want to put her on the couch? Okay, well, y'all, we are, so we're doing a little series called Missing Peace. P-E-A-C-E. Here's a little video. Do y'all remember how hard it was to get toilet paper in 2020? Yeah, y'all were a mess. Do you remember the long lines in the grocery stores? And they were always out, never in stock. Or the phone calls you would make to someone who you knew was out and about, and you'd say, "Hey, can you pick us up some toilet paper?" Yeah, we're running low. We only got 9 cases left. No, I'm going to pay you, and I'm going to pay you extra because I know the struggle. Yeah, and remember there was always a guy in line who was trying to get away with buying more toilet paper than was allowed, and they'd have it in a second cart and hope the cashier wouldn't recognize the second cart and do it all in one transaction. Oh my goodness. In 2020, I wanted to ask some of y'all, like, what are you doing in your bathrooms? Some of you had enough toilet paper to supply 3 neighborhoods for an entire apocalypse. What are you doing in there? And do you remember the unrest and thinking you didn't have enough? How we played off of each other's anxieties. How we played into media's anxiety production mechanism. Yeah, we did that. We did that. And then we look around and say, man, how come no one's got peace? Where'd peace go? And y'all listen, I don't want to undermine the seriousness of the COVID-19 pandemic, but I do know this. Being stuck in fear will always prevent you from having peace, and fear always leads to anxiety. Did anyone catch the Netflix documentary? It came out last month, still on, by the way, but called Take Your Pills. Oh, you've got to watch Take Your Pills. Sheila, I think you're the one who recommended it to me. If you haven't seen it, go home tonight after the service and watch this documentary. Really important documentary. They look at anxiety in our nation, and they look at anti-anxiety medication and how much it's been prescribed in our country. And for some, it's been a cure, but for others, it's been an absolute curse. And listen, I'm not here to tell you that medication is bad or good, or you should be taking this or you shouldn't be taking that. What I do know is when it comes to your recovery, sometimes outside sources can be very useful to you. And we've got to do a better job at breaking the stigma. There's no shame in treating your conditions, even with medication. In fact, I can tell you, in the early 2000s, after my brother died, was killed in a car accident because of this disease of addiction, man, I was severely depressed. It was like there were dark clouds in the sky, and I didn't think they'd ever part. Doctors put me on a medication called Paxil for 6 months. And I have to tell you, it did wonders in my life. It was tremendous amounts of good. The clouds parted, the sun shined again, and I didn't know that was possible. You know, but in the same breath, we also have to realize that anxiety in our nation is currently at an all-time high. And there's lots of reasons for why it's at an all-time high. You know, we can be addicted to our smartphones and be addicted to scrolling. We can get addicted to technology. We're told that millennials are now the most anxious generation ever to come into the U.S., ever to arrive here. And we are bombarded with a 24-hour news cycle, so you can turn on the TV at any moment of the day and you can see some grim stories, and you're told exactly what to care about. You're told what to get angry about and how to get hyped up. And if you don't care about these things, you're not a good person. It's everywhere, right? Did you know that 1 in 3 Americans will at some point face anxiety to the point where it's debilitating? Debilitating to the sense of where they can't move forward in their life. They can't take forward steps in their life. 1 in 8 American adults are currently on anti-anxiety medication. One of the psychiatrists in the film, she said that we're stuck in a story of trying to fix something that is broken rather than building resilience against it in the first place. And she goes on to say, for the first time in our history, we are living primarily in our heads. That we're not a people anymore who are trying to survive by running away from tigers or lions. Not many of us work on farms anymore. Not many of us work with our hands. That so many of us spend the majority of our day up here in the mind, the place where anxiety is produced, the place where anxiety thrives. How many of you get stuck in your head on a regular basis? And maybe you're in some fear over something and you're trying so hard to figure it out. You're trying so hard, anything but to sit in the darkness. Or maybe you're in fear of not getting something that you want, or you're in fear over losing something that you already have, or maybe you have fear of your past, and so now you live in shame, or maybe you have fear about the future, so you're constantly being pulled out of the present. And see, being stuck in that fear, it will always prevent you from having peace. And at some point, that fear can get so bad, it just leads you to this kind of debilitating anxiety. You know, one of my favorite spiritual teachers, Richard Rohr, he recently said this: our common phrase, peace of mind, is a complete misnomer. When you are in your mind, you are never at peace. When you are at peace, take note, you are never in your head. As long as you think you've got to fix everything and control everything and understand everything, you will never be a peaceful person. Things do not largely happen by endless ruminating in the mind. My brothers and sisters, if you want peace in your life, you will have to get out of your head. In fact, how many of you went deeper into your addiction because you didn't know how to escape this thing? You didn't know how to turn it off. You didn't know how to stop it from racing. You didn't know how to stop this thing from driving you deeper into fear. You didn't know how to get out of your head without taking a drink or taking that drug. I didn't either. Or, how many of you know this to be true? You know exactly what it's like to spin out in fear over something good that's happened in your life. You know what I mean? Fear is not always connected to a negative experience. Fear is not always connected to the bad moment in your life. We can get fearful over the good. And you know what the voice says when something good is happening and fear creeps in? It always says the same thing. Man, I don't deserve this. Man, I don't know if I'm good enough for this. Man, I don't know if I'm worthy enough. And what if I fail anyway? You know, it was just a few weeks ago. I had to text my sponsor. Got out my phone. Sergeant Major, can we get together this week? And it was over something good. It was a good opportunity presented in my life. In fact, it was right here on the stage. I was sitting with someone throughout the week. And a good opportunity came my way. If I were to tell you all the story, you'd say, Ryan, it's an obvious yes. I mean, you said yes, right? No, I spun out in fear, not just for a few minutes. Not for just a couple of days. It was 2 weeks of spinning in fear. Sergeant Major, can we get together? Yes, preacher. He calls me preacher. Yes, preacher, we can get together. Where are we going? What are we talking about? Let's go to Corner Bakery. I think we need to talk about step 7 because I have this shortcoming in my life where fear can creep in and it can actually take over. And I said, Tom, it's over something good. It's like a good thing in my life. And it's holding me captive. It's waking me up in the middle of the night. And y'all do know fear isn't the problem, is it? It's when you are overcome with fear, then you lose your peace. You know, it's always interesting to me when we read through Scripture. Do you know that we've been going through this with our kids? We're doing a little Advent devotion during the evenings, and angels often come into Scripture. Angels appear on the scene. And do you know what they say every time they appear? They always say the same 3 words. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Did you know? Do not be afraid, or the phrase fear not is mentioned 365 times in the Scripture. Now, I'm not very good at math, but I do know that is 1 time for every single day of the year. Do not be afraid. Fear not. And think about how the Christmas story starts. And you do know Christmas, what it's about, right? Jesus coming into the world, God sending this gift. So think about how the story starts. Some people hear that God is sending this great gift in the world, and what happens? They freak out a little bit. Rightfully so. They're freaking out. And then angels appear. So if you're not familiar with the story, think about Joseph. Joseph was Jesus' father, kind of. Joseph was told that good news was coming. Joseph, your fiancée Mary is pregnant. And this baby's gonna change the world. And Joseph, you're not exactly the father here. God's the father. That's a little creepy, right? God's the father. But don't worry, this baby's gonna change the world. And then we get this verse, beginning of Matthew's gospel. As Joseph was thinking about this, where's he at? In his head, as he's thinking about this, because he was thinking about leaving Mary, calling off the engagement. He was in some fear. An angel from the Lord appeared to him in a dream and said, Joseph, son of David, don't be afraid. It happened to Mary too. Little teenage Mary, unwed, coming from the margins of society. Mary, you're going to have a baby. How'd this happen? Now, don't worry, Mary. And can't you imagine the angel saying this to Mary? You can't understand it all right now. You can't try to figure this thing out. What God is doing in you and through you is a big deal. It's offering hope into the world, Mary. And I know you don't get it now, but more will be revealed. And Mary's freaking out a little bit. And then what do we get? The angel said, don't be afraid, Mary. God is honoring you. Oh, then you have the shepherds too. Do you all remember the shepherds in the story? If on the way home tonight, you turn on Cozy 101, you'll hear some Christmas songs that will sing about the shepherds, undoubtedly. The shepherds were in their field. The story goes like this. We'll throw it on the screen. There were shepherds camping in the neighborhood. They had set up night watches over their sheep. Suddenly, God's angel stood among them, and God's glory blazed around them. They were not just afraid, they were terrified. Now, let's just pause there for a moment, because you would be terrified too. These shepherds, these are the lowest people on the socioeconomic ladder. They're just out there doing their thing, and they're living in fear of that first century Roman Empire. The first century Roman Empire was the most powerful empire the world had ever seen. They were living in fear of the empire, and yet they're told good news is about to come bursting forth in the world. And what happens? The angel said, don't be afraid. I'm here to announce a great and joyful event that is meant for everybody worldwide. And do y'all know what I love about the beginning of this Christmas story? They all experience joy, but fear comes first. Because is it true? Fear and good news so often walk together, don't they? They were terrified, and don't be afraid. Same characters, same story, same moment. And y'all, that's a story I can relate to. That is a story written, told, done in the world for all of us who can so easily get stuck up in our heads. You know, last Saturday, Tammy, my wife, she was doing a coffee event across town. She was serving Wagon Coffee and talking about Wagon Coffee and free. And she took our 9-year-old daughter, Shiloh, with her. And I'm told that Shiloh was doing most of the talking to the customers, people coming up asking what this was about. And later that afternoon, Tammy, I was here actually, Tammy texted me this video of Shiloh talking to one of the customers. Take a look.
My mom serves like coffee to people in addiction and women in recovery, and my dad owns a church which he helps people.
Okay.
And he got sober right before I was born. And
Fantastic, and he's still sober. Woohoo! That's neat.
Yeah. And do y'all know why that video brought me to tears last Saturday? Because first, I mean, how cool is it that our 9-year-old daughter knows the mission? And she can tell you the mission. And Shiloh knows that her pops got sober right before she was born. And she's proud of it. I got sober when Tammy was 9 months pregnant. Talk about me creating some fear in the life of my family. And see, what Shiloh doesn't know is the fear that was in me in her arrival. Man, I was just over 30 days sober. I was scared. And do you know what fear says in the midst of the good when good is presented? It always says the same thing. Am I going to be good enough? I mean, my question is, can I be a good pops? How do you be a father and not pick up a drink? How do you go through this and not get drunk? Can I even stay sober? Because I tried it before and it didn't work. And where was I at? Always up in the head. And I'm telling y'all, in those moments, I had to have faith that God was holding me, that God was doing for me what I couldn't do for myself. And see, maybe you've encountered some good news along the way, some good news of new life, and you've got some fear around it. It's okay. It's okay. Normal, natural. Maybe you're new in recovery, and you're wondering, well, how am I going to do life without a drink? What's this going to look like? That's okay. Normal. Keep going. Don't run from that fear, but keep going. Or maybe you've got a new path to take in life. It's so clear to you, but you're wondering, do I have what it takes? Am I enough? You got some fear around it. That's okay. Don't run from that fear, but keep going. Or maybe you're like in a new relationship, or you've got a new job or some sort of new opportunity, and you're like hearing the voices. You hear this story, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. And you're like, yeah, but I don't know how to do this without being afraid. I don't know what it looks like not to be afraid. And y'all, here's the deal. Notice the angels in the story, they didn't say, don't feel afraid. They say, don't be afraid. And there's a difference, isn't there? Because see, feelings, they just are. Feelings, they're there. Get honest with those feelings. Sit with them. Talk to them. In fact, we have to talk to those feelings. It's how we get our way out of that mess. We got to have a conversation. Like when I was meeting with my sponsor a few weeks ago, having that conversation on the way home, I had to talk to that fear and anxiety. And you know what I said? I had to have an honest conversation. Oh, fear, I know who you are. I know what you're going to try to do, and you're welcome to the conversation, but you don't get to drive everything here. You don't get to lead the way. But fear, I already know what you're going to tell me. You're going to start telling me, who are you? Ryan, who do you think you are? Ryan, you're not good enough for this. You're going to fail anyway, so why bother? And y'all, your fears are usually pretty uninteresting. Because see, most of the time, fear is just a broken record. It just repeats itself. You're not good enough for this. Everything could fall apart. You could look stupid. You could lose money in this. It's boring. Boring, old story. And the thing is, fear thinks it's an original voice, but it very rarely says anything new. You see, and I do get it. Some of you are in like this raging battle in your mind because something negative happened. Something traumatic happened. Maybe it was recently. And that battle is just raging. And you do need to be reminded that God always goes with you. That in your deepest fears, God is present with you in that moment. You know, in the Old Testament, when Joshua, he was getting ready to go in this major, like the battle of his life, and he's freaking out. And God says this to Joshua. Have I not commanded you, Joshua? Joshua, be brave and courageous. Joshua, don't be afraid. Do not be discouraged. In other words, don't lose hope, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. God is present in every moment and in every fear you can imagine or experience. And see, there is a difference in feeling afraid and being afraid. God doesn't say don't feel afraid, but God constantly says don't be afraid. You see, fear, feeling afraid, it's not the problem, is it? It's not a bad thing. If a mountain lion were to come charging into this room right now, fear's probably a pretty good thing, isn't it? Might just save your life. If you're new in your sobriety and someone comes charging in here with a full bottle of vodka and starts popping the lid, fear's probably a pretty good thing. It might have a way of saving your life. Fear's not the problem. The problem is when you're consumed with it, when it keeps you from moving forward in your life, when it keeps you from stepping into the new step in your life. Being stuck in fear will always prevent you from having peace. It will always lead you to a great amount of anxiety. So I want to leave you with 4 ways to get out of your head and to get into some peace. And the first is simply just pause. Yeah, just pause. Take a deep breath. We talked about breath last week, ruah. Yeah, you can pause. Pause and invite God in. Pausing can be a spiritual experience. Man, y'all, I saw the dumbest TikTok a couple of months ago, and it has stuck with me. It's like changing me. It was a breathing expert. Oh, don't act like you don't scroll through the TikTok. There was a breathing expert, and he said 2 inhales into the nose and 1 exhale through the mouth, but he said it has to be dramatic, and he starts to doing it, then I'm starting to do it. I'm telling you, I do this almost daily, and it goes like this. Do it. Get dramatic. Go ahead, do it. Y'all are silly, but I'm telling you, it works. 2 in, 1 out in the most dramatic way possible. The second thing you can do, put your fears into words. The big book of Alcoholics Anonymous gives us this great reminder on page 68. We reviewed our fears thoroughly. We put them on paper, even though we had no resentment connection with them. We asked ourselves why we had them. Wasn't it because self-reliance failed us? Self-reliance was good as far as it went, but it didn't go far enough. Some of us once had great self-confidence, but it didn't fully solve the fear problem or any other. When it made us cocky, it was worse. We asked God to remove our fear and direct our attention to what God would have us be. Very important word. Name it. Name those fears. Put words to those fears. And when you do, remind fear of its rightful place. Yes, fear, you get a say in this conversation, but you do not get to hold me captive anymore. You don't get to wake me up in the night anymore. Remind fear of its rightful place. And then the third thing you can do, because see, getting out of our head is about taking action. Look for the angels in your midst, because they're everywhere. Like, who are the ones that know you? Who are the ones that you trust? Because, see, they're the ones that can say to you, don't be afraid. I know it's hard. I know it's scary. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. See, these people, they are often spokespeople from God, and they can come into your life and speak a healing word to you, but you have to lean into these people. These have to be people that you trust, people that know you. And the fourth thing, allow fear to cause you to lean into your faith. Because see, you know what's interesting? When Jesus came into the world, which is what Christmas celebrates, there was all kinds of fear. Man, a new thing was happening. People had fear around it. And when Jesus was preparing to leave this world, what do you think people experienced? They had fear around it. They were saying, like the ones closest to him, his friends, his disciples, they were saying, but Jesus, I mean, if you are crucified on this cross, doesn't it mean like you lose and the Roman Empire wins? And Jesus, if that happens, doesn't the whole movement of the way of love that you're teaching us, doesn't the whole thing fall apart? And Jesus, you can't leave us now because we'll be all alone. And as they're expressing this fear to Jesus, Jesus pauses and he says this to them: peace I leave with you. My peace I give you. I give to you not as the world gives. Don't be troubled or afraid. Man, now that's an interesting line, isn't it? It is packed and loaded full of energy. Like, why does he say my peace? And then why does he contrast that to the world's peace? Because how are we taught to get peace in the world? Man, you don't show weakness. You don't surrender. You don't do any of that. You just do everything you can to escape the darkness. No fear, because no fear. If you can get rid of all those fears, then you're not weak. You're strong, and people will tell you all you got to do is. And what if you sit with those fears? And by the way, that word peace in the Greek, because remember the New Testament is written in Greek. It's this word, irene, and it comes from the Hebrew word, shalom. Yeah, have you heard of that word, shalom? And that word, shalom, it has some depth to it. It is way more than just the absence of conflict or the absence of war. It can be translated, that word shalom can be translated as wholeness, health, harmony, integration. It's always about our interconnectedness with one another. And get this, when the word peace is used in the New Testament, it is almost always used in its present form, meaning you can have peace right here, right now. You see, when fear in your life creeps up, as it does, as it will, allow it to cause you to lean into your faith so that you might actually grab onto and experience the kind of peace that only God can give. The kind of peace that you long for, that you're desperate for. Peace, harmony, wholeness, integration, interconnectedness. Yeah. Isn't that the kind of peace you're looking for? So I want to play a song now. Give you a moment to reflect on peace in your life. This song, I played it Thursday night. Is the Advent gathering on Thursday night? It's on Thursday night. This song is called Sound of Silence. And it's a cover of the Sound of Silence, because you might remember Simon and Garfunkel wrote Sound of Silence, but it was covered by this band, this heavy metal band called Disturbed. And I was reminded, you're going to meet Brie in just a moment. When we were up on the stage and we were talking about her story, she's our guest storyteller tonight. She told me that peace is multi-layered. And I thought, how beautiful is this then? To have Sound of Silence sang by a lead singer of a heavy metal band. Take a look. Now, very rarely will I say that a cover is better than the original, but come on, that's pretty good, isn't it? That's how Mickey's going to sound on in 2 weeks from tonight with Silent Night. All right, y'all, if you're new with us, you should know that every single Saturday night here, we have a guest storyteller to just come and share a little piece of their story, their experience, strength, and hope around the subject that we're talking about, so peace. And I can't wait for y'all to meet my friend Brie Griego, 21 months sober. She works as a clinical manager at a private medical detox, and she's one of the brightest lights I know. And so come share with us about peace, Brie. Help me welcome Brie to the stage. Hey, great to have you here. Brie, look at you got quite an applause there. You got some friends and family here tonight.
I do.
All right. How's that make you feel?
I mean, it's an honor. It really
is,
is.
isn't
I
it?
have beautiful people in my life that want to come and support me and show up for me, and it's amazing.
Yeah, Tammy and I have said for a long time, I don't know how long we've known you, not too long, but since we've known you, Brie, that you always just bring such a great energy into the room. So thank you for being that person.
Thank
and
you.
I know it has everything to do with your recovery, which we're going to get into. Because when I asked you, how did addiction prevent you from having peace in your life, your response to me was, well, I never really had peace in my life.
Yes.
So talk to us about it.
Yeah. For me, as long ago as I can remember, even as a small child, and it's been my experience when I talk to others that they felt the same way. I just had this internal turmoil, this longing to figure out where I fit or where I belonged or to just be whole. And I never really knew what peace felt like. I never really knew what that wholeness felt like until recovery.
Yeah.
Which I have that now.
So I want to back up a little bit. You started drinking and using at the age of 13.
I did.
And we're not just talking booze. We're talking the meth, the heroin. You said everything you started using. And if you can think back to that time in your life, I know you were 13, so we may not remember all of it, but for people who aren't the addict in the room, the alcoholic in the room, help us understand why you picked up, what that gave to you.
So it's interesting. I've thought a lot about this, actually. I think we all have a story as to the why, or dysfunction, or generational trauma, or how we got there. But for me, when I was hanging out with the people I was hanging out with that were also very active in addiction, now I know, looking back, they were these kind of lost, broken souls. When I found them, I finally felt like I found my people and like I belonged somewhere. And the drinking and the using, that was our way of connecting. That was our way of escaping how we felt inside. That was the one thing that gave us some type of freedom from ourselves. And we all felt that way.
Yeah.
And so it's very interesting because I have those same people now. We're just on the other side. So y'all have always been my people. Always.
We're just different people now.
Different people now. Yeah.
So one of the things you talked about was, so you have a son.
I have a son.
Your son's here tonight.
He's here tonight.
How old's your son?
He is 17.
17 years old. Hey, I'm glad you're here, man. It's kind of cool to be able to support your mama in recovery, huh? One of the things you told me was that because when we're not at peace, we tend to make others around us not at peace either.
Absolutely.
When we're not at peace, we tend to create fear in the ones that love us most.
Absolutely.
And you said his greatest fear was that mom was going to die of a drug overdose.
Mm-hmm.
How'd that feel?
It's emotional. He's 17 now, as we just said, and that was when he was probably 11. And I didn't even realize he had the insight he had around the depth of where I was at with my disease, honestly. And it's painful. And there's still sadness attached to that, to know that that's how he had to feel about his mom.
Yeah. And it's always amazing to me. So many of our guest storytellers who join us on a Saturday night, they tell the story of getting their kids back, getting a relationship with their kids, either younger or with their grown kids. And can you also tell us, Brie, you said relapse is part of your story.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought it was fascinating the way you talked. In fact, I was telling your story to someone right before the service, how you talked about relapse. Can you share that with us?
Yeah, so I am someone that relapsed after multiple years of recovery during first summer of COVID. And I simply share that because during that first few years of recovery for the first time and having sustained recovery, I really, really worked hard to find freedom and find wholeness and find peace. And I got it. I found it. I fell into this beautiful pocket of freedom from addiction, and I finally had this hope. And we can get into the whys of all of that. Everyone has a story of why they relapsed, but I did. And I can tell you, when I first picked up for the first time after that long, I immediately was in turmoil. I was immediately sad and scared and fearful and anxious. And I remember I just fell onto the sidewalk. I was sitting on the side of the sidewalk drinking. And I immediately was fearful. And I just wanted that moment back of that freedom. So if you think that that's going to give you relief, if you're struggling right now and you think picking up is a good idea, I can tell you personally, I've experienced that it's immediate turmoil and you will just want to be back on the other side. And so here I am, thank God.
Yeah,
but
thank God.
I do like to share that just specifically because of that piece.
Yeah, and relapse, of course, does not have to be part of your story, but for so many of you, it is part of your story. And I love how you said you were more miserable because you knew the freedom of recovery. You knew like what life with God was, and so going back out makes it more miserable.
More miserable.
Okay, so tell us what in your life today with recovery. How do you describe peace? What's it look like in your life?
Peace in my life today looks like, and we were talking about this, and this is one of the greatest gifts recovery has given me, but is being able to sit in the quiet.
Yeah.
I can sit in the quiet, and now I crave that. I chase peace, you guys. Like, peace is my thing. Like, self-care and peace is my jam, and I chase peace like I did in my addiction. Like, I don't know how to live in that chaos and toxicity anymore. And so I just so much appreciate that I can sit with myself. And what I mean by sit in the quiet is this. Like, this up here isn't inconstant. I have been given the gift of neutrality when it comes to drinking and using, and I'm no longer sitting in mental obsession. I'm no longer sitting in the chaos internally. And that is something I never thought would be possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you talk about peace being intertwined with perspective, and perspective being intertwined with gratitude. Tell us about that connection.
Yeah, so the connection for me is, how do I choose to look at things? We can find something to be fearful of. We can always find something to complain about. We can always find what's wrong with something. And for me, it's about flipping the perspective and just being able to say, you know what? Like, but the other side of the coin is this. And when I can flip the perspective and flip the coin, I can then get into gratitude. And if I can get grounded in gratitude, then I'm in a whole different place within myself and being present with my higher power. And that gives me peace. And so I really also try to look at it like not attaching the word negative or positive feelings to things. I like to just say the feelings just are.
Yeah, yeah.
And what do I need to do to get to the other side? Being perspective.
Yes,
and
because it takes work, right?
It takes work.
I think some of us, we sometimes just expect peace to appear.
Right.
Peace takes some work, right?
Peace takes work. Life takes work.
Yeah.
Things take work. And just understanding that, like, I have a responsibility. I have found that when I work on the inside, it opens up these doorways to life that flood out compassion and empathy and gratitude and perspective and connection and love. But it starts with the inside first. And I don't know how to even get those doors open if I'm not working on the heart and the spirit.
Yeah, and those words that Brie just mentioned, she lives these words. I mean, these words, this kind of exudes out of you. Now, Brie, the other thing I thought was, I thought at some point my recovery fear would just kind of go away. that I wouldn't have fear anymore. I would totally outgrow it. And what I found is I still have some of the same fears I had when I was active in addiction. We get to deal with those fears differently today, but the fear is still there. Fear can still creep up. So how do you help people understand, how do you get into a place of peace? How do you experience God's peace in the midst of fear in your life?
I love what you just said. We get to experience fear a different way. I have fallen into this understanding and acceptance around what the human experience is and feels like. And so now, instead of it holding me hostage, I have an understanding with fear. We just have this interchanging relationship, fear and I, and I know that it's okay. I know that it's okay that fear exists here and that anxiety can exist here, and suffering is part of the human experience as well. And I'm just trying to honor those things for what they are and feel them fully and completely. And then we'll just kind of move through that as we need to, as I need to.
Yeah.
But I have to be willing to also, like we talked about, name it.
Yeah.
And own it.
And what are some of the practical steps you take in that?
Self-care is huge. Mm-hmm. My family's here, my coworkers are here, some of them, and they know that I'm very firm with my boundaries and I'm very protective over my time and my self-care. And that's because this is life or death for me. If I don't stay healthy and keep the spirit healthy, keep my mind, my heart healthy, and stay centered, which would be losing the peace.
Yeah.
That's just the beginning of the end for me, to be honest. So self-care and doing what I need to for myself, when I need to for myself, even learning what I needed, were huge pieces for me. Balance in my life, people I surround myself with, they also have perspective and they also have gratitude and they can help me. I don't do this fear thing alone. I don't do this peace thing alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you work the 12 steps?
I do work the 12 steps.
And so do you reach out to people when you're in those places of fear?
Yes. Yeah. So service is huge to me. That's one of the things that I'm very protective over regarding my self-care and my time is people show up for me and I show up for others. And everything within the 12-step community that is suggested, I am doing, which is I do have a sponsor. I do have a relationship with a higher power. I am of service. I'm there for others. I'm honest.
So, Brie, I'm going to ask you a question that I did not put in my notes. So I'm
Sure.
just throwing you on the spot here
to
end things with. But what do you think? So you're 21 months sober now.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you had experience with recovery before that. But what's the biggest difference in your life? I would almost be tempted to call Mom up to the stage right now and tell us what's the biggest difference in Brie's life, or your son. But what if you were to describe it, what's the biggest difference in life as an active addict and life in recovery for you personally? What do you think the biggest difference is?
The peace and the comfort that I can give to others. I don't have this world around me that's living in constant chaos and turmoil.
Yeah.
And really learned and understand now the value of one day at a time. And recently I was at a speaker meeting and she said, you know why it's one day at a time? Show me anyone who can do 2 days at a time. And I'm like, okay. Like, life is just one day at a time, and I can never do 2 days at a time anyway. And so I really have value with just understanding that we are right here, right now, and this is today.
Yeah.
And how can I show up? Yep. How can I show up today?
Yeah. Brie, one more question.
Yeah.
Because I promise you, I get Facebook messages, Instagram messages, and emails each week of people tuning in that I had no clue. Like, dude, I don't even know who you are. And I promise you, someone is either here tonight in this room or they're watching online, and they have a lot of fear around getting clean and sober. They know it's time, but man, that's a scary path to take. If you were to give one word of hope to the one who is clinging on to fear, the kind of anxiety-filled fear that keeps them from moving forward, what would you say to them?
I would say I can promise you the fear of not pushing through the fear is greater. In the words of Brene Brown, I don't want to get to the end of my life and say, what if I would have shown up? And so if you're struggling, just know the fear of not doing something about it is way greater. And that there's these gifts that you would have never imagined possible for you, and it is possible to have wholeness and freedom from addiction.
Ooh, that's a good word. And she even tied in Brene Brown. Did you read Gifts of Imperfection?
I did not read Gifts of Imperfection.
You've got to read that,
but I have a
Brie.
little experience with Daring Greatly.
Yes, so good.
So good. We got to get vulnerable, and we got to have these hard conversations, and we got to learn to push through the fear, because the what if not is way greater.
Thank you for being here, Brie, and sharing some of your story with us.
Thank you
so
for
good
having
to have
me.
you here. Are you going to stick around tonight?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Brie.
Thank you.
I've heard that. So Brie will be sticking around for a few minutes afterwards. If you want to talk to Brie and ask her any questions, show her some love and support, yeah, do what y'all do. Show her some love. Okay, y'all, the way we close things down here at Free is the same way we begin, except not with celebrations. We close with heartaches, and we take 3 minutes for this just to lift up the burden, the heavy thing you're going through, the fear you're walking through, because what we know is we got to do this together as community. We weren't created to walk that journey alone. So if you're on Facebook or YouTube, just drop it in the comments, because God always hears the cries of the people. And if you're in the room, lift up your hand. Matt will bring you a mic, because God always hears the cries of the people. And we'll take 3 minutes for this.
Hi, Michelle, alcoholic. We have a friend in recovery who was on one of our meetings this week and was on his way from Fort Collins to CU Anschutz in Aurora. His wife had just been in a terrible car accident and was flight for life. She's still in ICU, and I thought we could lift her up tonight. Her name is Kimmy Ivy.
Prayers for Kim. You said Kim.
Kimmy.
Kimmy. Prayers for Kimmy. Thank you for sharing that with us, Michelle.
I just want to lift up my mom, who is still struggling with PTSD.
Prayers for your mom. Thank you for sharing that with us. We got quiet in here all of a sudden.
I'm single and I'm an addict, and I want to pray for my homie who just lost his job and is new in recovery, and giving him strength that he can stay strong and everything will work out the way it should.
All right, man. Lifting up your homie new in recovery. Matt, you got one in the second row here after these two back there.
Hi, Warren Addict. Oh. My sister continues to struggle with addiction. She's had 3 DUIs. She lost custody of her child, and she is losing her job now for the 4th time and has yet to identify as an addict or receive help. And so I pray that she experiences that rock bottom one way or another.
Prayers for her, man.
I'd like to say a prayer for my best friend Eli. He's currently addicted to heroin and fentanyl and doesn't have any signs of wanting to stop, and I'm really afraid it's going to end with the grave.
Yeah. Prayers for him.
In the second row?
Right here. Yep.
This afternoon, I gave out 100 sandwiches with 100 bottles of water to 100 different homeless, addicted, psychotic in some cases, unfortunate people. I hope we lift some prayers to them, because some of them are in a hopeless situation, but prayer could help.
Prayers for all of them. Thank you for lifting them up, man. Matt, you joining me up here?
Of course.
Matt, this is holy ground. I'm glad you took off your shoes. He does have shoes. I see him. But you got the Christmas socks. I love it, dude. All right, Matt, you take the first one on the screen. We're going to join with our online community and lift them up. You take the first one.
Kay says, been dealing with a lot of triggers, using dreams, etc. lately. Could use some prayers, and God willing, I'll be 1 year clean on Wednesday. Awesome, Kay.
Yeah, Kay, keep going. Prayers for you. Christy says prayers for peace of mind, prayers for peace for my friend Robin, who lost her mom this week. Christy, lifting up your friend Robin, keeping Robin in her prayers. Glad you're here tonight, part of this community.
Jim Pilcher, my heartache is the grief my wife Sue is suffering with the loss of our sons this year. I don't know what to do.
Yeah, prayers for you, Jim. Glad you're tuning in tonight. Prayers for your wife. Adam, sorry I couldn't be with you guys tonight as I am at home with the COVID virus at Adam's castle. Well, Adam, we love you, brother, and we're glad you're part of this community. Healing prayers being sent your way with the COVID.
Stephen says, please pray for Heather, who lost her brother a month ago. Prayers for you, Stephen, and your for Heather also.
Yeah, prayers for her. And Stephanie says, my heartache is for each person I love who could benefit from hearing everything that was said here tonight. Grateful for a share link. Thank you, Brie and Pastor Ryan. Thank you, Stephanie. We're glad you're here tonight. Prayers for everyone who could hear a message of peace. Thank you for lifting them up.
Trip and Sharon Freeman, I want to pray for the people battling addiction and the people fighting to stay sober in their recovery, especially during this busy time of year. Prayer for all of us.
Yes. Thank you, Sharon or Trip. And Chris says, prayers for my friend, Dr. Stewart, who is suffering from advanced stages of Parkinson's. I met with him this afternoon, and I was deeply moved. Chris, prayers for Dr. Stewart. Thank you for lifting him up. Prayers for him. Thank you, Matt, for being up here with me tonight. And your shoes are still down there waiting for you. Hey, listen, y'all. We're coming up on the end of the year. It is December 10th. Christmas Eve is in 2 weeks, and we've had so many people. It's been a cool thing in this community that people have been asking how they could help. We've had Ryan Whitaker just came in one day and said, I want to give you a Christmas gift, and redid the hallway bathroom. You should check it out. If you haven't been to the bathroom, go enjoy that place. He did a great job. We had, and my friend Eric Birchfield just came in this week and started painting and touched up all the black trim. And Kevin Oxley came and trimmed all the trees this afternoon, and so many volunteers came and helped take care of that. Thank you all for that. And people are asking, is there anything you need? Can we help with a project, a purchase, anything? And I want to tell you something that really cool that happened just yesterday. An anonymous donor said, hey, I want to give Free a $10,000 gift, and I want you to see if you can get this matched before the end of the year so we can keep doing some good. So anything you give, if you have considered giving to this community, if you have been thinking about it, but you just haven't gotten around to it, first know we're really grateful for your giving. And I'm not lying when I tell you all this. We exist because of your generous donations. We're not funded from some big organization. We are funded through you all. So you all help keep the mission of breaking the silence of addiction going. Anything that's given, if you want to give, and I highly encourage it, even small amounts, because it's matched dollar for dollar up to $10,000 until the end of the year. So if you want to give, there's 3 ways to give in this community, and you can put in the memo free match, and we'll make sure it gets matched. There's 3 ways to give. The first way is to download the app. You can give there. You can do one-time donation or weekly, monthly, however you want to do it. You can go directly to the website, freespiritualcommunity.com/give, and you can give that way, or there's the kiosks here. You can also text the number on your screen, Be the Wagon. It'll roll you through a simple set of instructions. There's a kiosk here, and then one kiosk outside these doors. And if you want your donation to be matched, just put free match in the memo when you give. And please know we are so grateful for your all's generous giving that helps this community keep thriving in the world. And let's see if we can get 10,000 matched by the end of the year. We've got 20 more days left to do it, y'all. We can do that. All right. Shall we close with a prayer? I think we should. I invite you to open your hands. It's a sign of openness. Maybe tonight, as you pray this prayer, you can be open to God's peace that is available to you. Maybe you can take a moment and we can say this prayer together, and you can take a moment to actually get out of your head and into your heart. If you don't know the serenity prayer, let's pray it together. It's on your screen. It goes like this. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen. My free brothers and sisters, this week, may you go and get out of your head and into your heart so that you can experience all kinds of grace and peace, and we will see you next time.